please stand and join me in our pledge of allegiance on the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you pray for me? Eternal God, as we begin another session of the Junction Board of Aldermen, we ask that you invest in this board your strength and wisdom to fortify us and guide us so that we may enhance the prosperity of our community and improve the quality of life for those you have entrusted to us. It's in your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Rick. Next is the agenda. Are there any comments or corrections to the agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda tonight.
Second.
Motion by Roger Spencer, second by LaDonna Allen.
Or anybody.
Rick. That we approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. In the affirmative, the agenda is approved. Next is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting and approval of our disbursements. Are there any comments, corrections to the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by LaDonna Allen, second by Gary Stubblefield. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. In the affirmative with no abstentions, the consent agenda is approved. Next is public forum. Would anyone like to speak at the public forum? I know we got a lot of people out there. Would anyone like to talk or speak at the public forum? Last call for public forum. Very well then, so no one wishes to speak, we'll move right along. Next is discussion of upgrading police radios. Steve?
This will be a combined Steve and the chief. I laid there on your desk an updated quote from Motorola, $223,000, and Mark, the chief, met with Jasco, April over there, the executive director, manager, whatever you want to call her, and they adjusted some of the equipment needs to match more what we would need. And who was the other one there?
Brian Harper with Interroute, the one that we've got the
Okay.
proposal from.
So that we know for sure what we're getting is what we need. Price did go up a little bit at that $223,000, but that gets us in line with what Jasco is proposing also.
I talked with Carl.
Yes.
And you need, I don't know if you had a discussion with him about
Yes.
Jasco maybe funding us for that.
Part of it.
Yeah.
Yes. Met with Carl Francis. He's on the board of directors for Jasco, and proposed that they use some of that new sales tax fund that they are getting in for a reimbursement on part of this, because their proposal is to buy radios for everybody in the county.
Right.
So that the whole county is on the most win system. The problem being is that they don't start collecting that sales tax until January, so they won't even receive any monies until April.
Yeah, he said he was going to talk to them about reimbursement next
So-
Thursday when their meeting is.
Yes, they have a meeting next Thursday, a board meeting next Thursday. Carl and I have collaborated a little bit on it about what we would like to do. He's in support of it, so he's going to present it to their board about doing a reimbursement. Positive, I think the really positive thing about that is that it takes everybody's money and it spreads it out farther. It allows some of these other communities that maybe don't have the funds, these smaller ones that don't have the funds, because we're not going to take a big chunk of it anymore. It allows it to spread that money out farther. It also allows our ARP money to get spread out farther also, where we don't take a big chunk of ours and use it just on one project. So the other part of that is I propose to the commission, the Jasper County Commission, that they take part in this also. And I received a resounding, I don't think so. but we don't know how we're gonna spend the money to begin with. That's why we've hired a consultant. Who knows when they're gonna get around to doing it? They have the same deadline that we do. They have to have it earmarked by 2024. And they are going to take their sweet time getting to that point where they start dispersing the money on the projects that they want.
And this is who?
Jasper County Commission.
Yes, Ladonna.
On this, on the 223 or whatever, is that to go ahead and get the dual band stuff so that we have that?
Yeah, it will be.
Okay.
Yes, Rick.
There's on the page 2, there's a 5-year essential service, they call it. Is that like service once a year for 5 years, or is that every 5 years we get this? Like the third one down?
If I remember right from the initial one, that means that essential service means that if there's updates that has to be done, they do them. It's built into the contract.
For 5 years. And then,
More than anything, it's probably the software updates.
and then the second thing was, is there any training that's going to be required about using it?
Yeah, they'll have to come over and give us training, because it's totally different. Portable radios, mobile radios, like I said, we'll have the dual band, which we don't have now. Plus we'll have the ability to be on frequencies with Joplin County, all the other web city. And when they finally get to the point where we're trying to get to, then we'll have interoperability between all the area agencies. But yeah, they will come in and train us.
Anybody? Yes, Ladonna.
Did they give us any kind of idea on what, like if we would say order this next week or something, did they give any idea what the timeline is that they expect to receive product or?
No, I don't think we talked about that. I mean, it's gonna be a revamp of everything, so.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we are operating right now, so I mean,
If it holds true like everything else is right now,
it's gonna be delayed.
there'll be a delay in there.
We just make sure that we show them our order and they agree that everything that we're going to order is compatible with what Gasco is going to have.
Yes, they do.
That's the most important thing.
And that is,
That's why
that was the main thing.
That was the meeting with April, because she knows what they're getting. She gave the input on what upgrades we needed. There was some programming that the previous quote didn't have that she said we'll need to be operating with them. So yeah, that's what that was about.
And until the board votes on reimbursement, we need to do nothing.
Right.
Which my question real quick.
Yes, Mike.
Previous discussions with the radio, we explored different options, and I can't remember exactly, but some of it was some repeaters and different systems that we could use. Is this getting us everything that we hoped for? Is this going the cheaper route? What is?
So this is basically the Cadillac.
Okay.
We'll have the main radio at the police department. With every car will have repeaters in the cars, and it'll be a smart repeater system. So when you're on scene, you only want one repeater, otherwise they cancel each other out. These are what they call smart repeaters. So when a second car pulls up, it recognizes that the first car is already on and will automatically shut itself off. When the first car leaves, then it'll kick itself back on and take over if it needs to.
Thank you.
Super.
Will we have to get new licensing or change our licensing or anything again for this system?
That's already partially been done with some of the radio upgrades we have. We're still in the process of getting one FCC license renewed.
Anything else? Ready to move on?
I think once we, next step on it, I think once we find out what the JASCO board's gonna do, next week, then we'll bring this back as an official bid and
rather than just approve a purchase from that day forward or something.
Anything else? Very well then, moving on. Next is review/approval of bids for storage containers at Frank Dean Sports Complex. Steve, you want to talk about that?
Yep, laid email on you that I got from Budget Box Mobile Systems in Joplin. I found one other in the area and sent them a bid too, and they never did get back to me. With Budget Box, you've got a couple of options there, and what we're looking at is the 20-foot ones. The used ones run 3,200 to 3,800. At that 3,800, they are supposed to be weatherproof, but there's no guarantee on it. And if you get the 20-foot new one at $5,800, it is weatherproof. It's brand new. And then also with the used one, you might get some with some cosmetic dings and forklifts run into it, that type of thing, and scrapes, possible rust. The other ones don't have all of that. They will be new and they'll be nice and shiny.
Does everyone understand why we want to do this?
No.
Okay.
This is twice in the past month. The garage down at Frank Dean was broken into. They totally tore off the man door going into it. We had to get that replaced, and they damaged the overhead door significantly. They were able to get it back in place, and it's working right now, but it is not secure. They have pulled everything out of there. When I talked to them last week, the only thing they had left in there was football gear. Their tractors are gone. They stole a tractor last time they got into it. They stole one of the tractors. They would have stole the other tractor too, but they couldn't figure out how to start it because you have to jump it every time. So they just, and the keys were in it.
Are we able to put cameras down there like I think we did at Memorial?
No, we don't have any access down there to get, other than a game camera, which we have tried.
But I think that's what I was going for. Yeah.
Well, they stole it.
Oh, well, for $5,800, does this stuff float?
This is going to be moved up onto that berm on the north side of Frank Dean. There's a berm up there, and it will be moved up there, and they'll be dry. It won't float. We've had to put that other building back in place a couple of times because it's floated.
So you're talking that berm, that's where that road goes through there?
Yeah, on the north side of it.
Mm-hmm.
They try not to let people drive back on that side because it gets really swampy down at the bottom end.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I talked to DYAA about the placement of where to put them, where they would want it, that type of thing.
Is there any shared costs with them at all, or just part of it?
No, these are our buildings, just like that one that's down there now. Those are our buildings.
And
And
these are,
if and the good thing about these, being that they're the mobile units like that, if we ever convert that into a soccer field or just even abandon the baseball complex, they can be moved. You know, we can move them someplace else and use them for something else.
yeah, because we're going to buy these.
Yes, we are buying these.
Which one do you want? You want the new or you want the used?
I would just soon have the new ones because they're going to be weatherproof and they're going to be better looking.
Are we gonna?
And you know, they're going to be, of course they could paint them too, you know,
I think
they could paint them the red.
sell advertising on it.
Yeah, so they advertising on something, yeah.
It's gonna get
Saying them, how many are we talking about?
Two of them will give us the same amount of storage as what was in that other building. They just set them side by side, tied together.
Two talking about, or 240s, the
220s.
220s.
Like shipping containers.
It's been a while since I've been down there. You have the green building and you have a red building. The green
This
building
is the
is,
red building.
so the green building is going to be,
Green building will still be there. They've changed the inside of the layout of that green building. You and I were used to it, had a divider down between the center of it, and they had both. Well, they've taken that out and they've put some good shelving in there. And it's,
yeah, originally that was supposed to have been all one,
yeah.
but then they took it away, gave me a little piece.
talking about? Where the
When it says
concession
one
stand
trip
is?
standard on the 40-foot, that means
It's down
just
there, I think.
once you get it there, it's there, no moving it.
Yes, that's a single trip.
So we're talking $11,600 for 2 units.
Yes, plus shipping. Plus the $150 in shipping.
Sounds cheap enough to me.
Who covers the cost of installation, them or us?
We do.
Okay.
We'll have to have a pad, a gravel pad built in there and flat that so that they'll set flat.
So BOI is not putting anybody anywhere,
No, so we're going. So if you guys want to do this, then we need a motion.
One comment real quick.
Yes, Mike.
We don't have any idea on the age of a used container, and so how long before the new one is no longer weatherproof. If they lose their weatherproofing over age, and we're buying a new one due to the fact that it's weatherproof, in 2 years is it no longer still weatherproof? And
The main thing that makes them non-weatherproof is damage from other trucks, forklifts, that type of thing. It's not when they're sitting flat and,
rust out.
they're very durable containers. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if they can be weatherproof enough where they can put them on a container ship them across the ocean, the 30 inches of rain we get, or 40 inches of rain we get every year is not going to phase them.
That's why I'm not sure that there's a major difference between a new one and a used one. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not looking at it, but
Damage is what you're talking about, potential damage.
And there are seals on the doors.
do they let you into their facility to pick out the one you want? Out of, if they have 60 on their lot, maybe you can find 2 that are in like new condition.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I can go down there and pick out the 2 that are, either way, 2 of the new ones or 2 of the used ones, whichever you guys want.
I don't know,
I don't want to waste any money, but I still think if you're buying used, you're buying used. And I think you're gonna get what you get. So if we buy new, we know we've got something that's somewhat guaranteed and, what do you say, waterproof and stuff. So I wouldn't go for a new.
I have seen some containers that are really banged up. I mean, really banged up.
It is amazing.
Was that a motion, Jeff?
No,
No,
Oh,
not yet.
no, that was a comment.
okay.
And we do have the money in the parks because it will come out of parks. Is that where we'll put it out of, or will we put it out of?
Parks. We really haven't spent
I
anything.
was gonna say, we haven't really spent anything. We have potential to be spending stuff on parks, but we also got that figured out long term.
I would cast my vote towards 2 used containers.
Well, we're not gonna do anything until somebody makes a motion.
Well,
Well, I'll cast
Or
my,
we can just vote on whether we want to buy new or want to buy used before we have a motion. You want to do that?
well,
Actually,
Take
can
a
we,
consensus on that? Yes.
can we, if we cast a vote or we make a motion, can we make the motion first to look at if we can get into their lot and pick out 2 used containers that are newer looking and newer appearance of dents or whatever. Maybe we purchase those first. We look at that primarily, and then if there's nothing available, then we go to a new.
Let me make a motion like that to give Steve the authority to spend up to $11,600 on 2 containers, and if at his discretion, if he thinks the used ones are worthy, then a couple used ones, the new ones are the way to go. Buy the new ones.
I don't have a problem with that. My only problem is, how do you know if they leak or not unless you go and look at them when it's green?
Very true.
That's my whole problem with stuff. I mean, they look just fine. They look great, and then you get them and they come in and they leak. Then you're dead in the water.
and I'm assuming these are maybe some salvage containers too, or they're buying them off people. So you will probably just keep in mind, if you buy used containers, they will probably be mismatched with unit numbers on the side, and you may have Evergarden, or you may have whatever on the side of them, and they will have unit numbers and they will be mismatched, which you can go back and paint, but then you've got the expense to cover up all of that also. Because anytime you have containers, you're gonna have unit numbers for tracking and stuff on them, unless you buy them.
I make a motion, we go in and buy the new ones.
Well, before we do that, we had a motion first. We don't have a second yet by Mike, who said that he wanted Steve to go and evaluate. Could spend up to $11,600 and evaluate if there are any two containers that he feels are worthy. There hasn't been a second yet, but we have to go with that motion first. If there's going to be a second for that.
I would second that because that will give him the authority, if he gets in there and sees there's really no way to tell, it gives him the authority to go ahead and purchase new ones.
So you're going to second that
I will
motion?
second that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for the city administrator to go in and inspect, to be able to spend up to $11,600
Plus 100.
plus shipping for containers, and he is to go and try and inspect to see if he can find two used containers who he believes do not leak and will be sufficient for our needs. But if he cannot find two that way, then he is still allowed to go and purchase two new ones. Is that pretty much what you guys are asking about? Okay, we have a motion and a second then. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. We have 8 in the affirmative with no absent. Steve, you have the sole discretion of what you're going to do.
Don't-
If
don't
they
like
leave,
that.
you gotta fix it.
We can also spend $12 worth of.
I'm gonna charge the silicone to the city though.
Okay, next is an ordinance annexing 54.44 acres by Randy Schultz. Would anyone like to put it on the first reading?
I'll put it on first reading title only.
Second.
Motion by Roger Spencer, second by Alderman Allen, to put this ordinance on first reading title only. Would the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance annexing approximately 54.44 acres in the northwest quarter of section 5, township 28, north, range 33 west, in the city of Carthage in Jasper County, Missouri, lying generally south of Ivy Road between North 20th Street and Grimes Street, and owned by Rainier and Ilana Schultz, as more fully described in the body of this ordinance.
Discussion. Yes, Mike.
I plan on voting against this, and I want to let you know the reasons why. I'm going to do my best to articulate what I'm thinking here, but bear with me. First of all, we've discussed on this council before where as the city is growing, our budget is not necessarily growing proportionally. And so I think it's unwise to continue to increase the city's responsibilities without being able to increase the budget. It's just going to cause us to have to water down the services that the city can provide. That's the first thing. The second thing is kind of a stretch, but I'm just not sure that this is what we want, or not we, but this is what the people of Carl Junction necessarily want. I think a lot of people probably have moved here, and maybe a lot of people on this board, because of the schools, and the school reputation is definitely one of the major selling points of the city of Carl Junction. But it's different. When your children went to school here, when I grew up, not in Carl Junction, but in the neighborhood community, there were a little over 100 students per grade. My son's 4th grade class has 290 students. That's a big school. I'm not sure that it's the same school that you're familiar with. The 4th grade principal sent out an email to all the 4th grade parents after the second week of school, and there were 80 some discipline referrals. And again, I'm not trying to say that annexing this land is causing discipline referrals at school or anything like that, but I'm trying to make a point, so bear with me. Part of these discipline referrals are unbelievable. The sexual nature of discipline referrals coming out of the 4th grade, unbelievable. Anyway, it's the kind of thing that maybe bigger school problems, maybe these are small school problems also, I don't know, but I'm just not sure that the people in Carl Junction are moving here because they hope to see Carl Junction sometime be the size of Lee Summit or some large suburb. I'm not sure that that's what people in Carl Junction want, is for there to be another 200 homes on 50 acres annexed into the town. Maybe that is what they want, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that people want the school to have 400 students per grade, which is where it's trending. Joplin High School has that, and so if they wanted that, they would probably be moving to a different district. I think people, I don't know. Again, I mentioned I was going to have a hard time kind of trying to articulate my thinking on this, but I'm going to vote no on this, and I plan on voting no on the plat if this gets approved. Again, I know that the school district and the city limits are different. You know, we're talking about the city and not the school district, but a little bit hand in hand there. That's all I have, sir.
Well, excellent. So does anyone know, is this land currently in the Carl Junction School District?
It would be.
Yes, it is.
Then it makes no difference whatsoever.
Well, it may. If the city doesn't annex this, I'm not sure that the builder would continue to decide to put 200 homes in there. I don't know. I haven't talked to the builder or not.
Okay. We'll take it. Yes, Ladonna.
One thing I want to point out, we have talked about this, and we talked about it in the budget committee the other day, is as you grow, you do take on extra expense because you have the infrastructure and your tax levies get adjusted. But that is one reason, and that's one thing we talked about in the committee, that we're going to have to do an orchestrated effort towards economic development and bringing in some different business. Those kind of go hand in hand, because if you have a business looking at coming into a community, if it's a growing, healthy community, they're also going to be more likely to come in. It's kind of a catch-22. Yes, we have this extra infrastructure cost, but also we may be attracting different types of businesses. And like Mark said, unfortunately, we don't have much control over the school population size, because as big as the district is, you have developers that are going into these unincorporated areas and throwing out developments right and left. And so, I mean, we have very little control over that. The city's almost tripled since I bought here. So, I mean, I think it's when you do have a good system and you are this close to hospitals and businesses and everything else where people work, they're naturally going to develop these lands anyhow. I would just assume if they want to come into Carl Junction, we can find a way to do that and increase our businesses and our economic development so that we can help support some of those. But that's my thoughts.
Any other comments?
I would put this ordinance on second reading by title.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Roger Smith. This ordinance on second reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
Ambulance annexing the property 54.44 acres in the northwest quarter of Section 5, Township 28 North, Range 33 West, in the city of Carl Junction, Jasper County, Missouri, lying generally south of Ivy Road between North William Street and Grimes Street, and owned by Radier and Amanda Schultz, as more fully described in the body of this ordinance.
Any further discussion?
Maybe we put this ordinance on final passage.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Gary Stubblefield to put this ordinance on final passage. This is a handbook to go to electronic voting. Will you all please vote with your right hand? Aid in the affirmative to go to electronic voting. Please vote electronically. Got Gary that hasn't voted yet. And Rick hadn't voted yet. Very good. 7 in the affirmative with 1 against. The ordinance passes 7-1. That's ordinance 21-39. And this is something that I really like, is that Mike got up there and told us why he was voting against something. And I've asked you guys to do that. I know some of you guys are new on here, but if you don't agree with something, We'd like to know why you don't agree, because you may change our minds, and that's fantastic. That's what we want to hear. It's kind of bad when you have something that comes up and nobody says anything against it, and then 2 or 3 people vote against it. We want to know why you're voting against something if you're not doing that. Mike, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Next is administration reports. Are there any comments, corrections, or gripes to the city administrator? I see there's a spreadsheet for time clocks.
Yeah, that's a different issue. The LWCF grant, we got an email from Missouri State Parks, and they've pushed the date out to January for finding out if we'll get it. They say because of the backlog at the federal government.
So they're still waiting on 2020 disbursements from like the last year's grants. Once they get that done, then they'll move on to in 2022.
Time clocks, Mary Beth and Elena can talk about that one. If there's, because you do have a spreadsheet that was given to you all.
Yes, there is a colored spreadsheet.
Okay.
So we got a deal about, I think, Mark, you wrote something about time clocks with police, didn't you? Somebody write something about that? About how difficult it would be for the police to do that? Somebody told me something about that. I read that someplace. About if they're, you know, if they get called, they live in Web City, or live in, I don't know where, Carthage, and whatever else. I don't know if they live there or not. You call them in to come in. When they're there, they can't clock in with the time clock.
I think all of these that we've looked at has also have the ability to use a smartphone, the ability to use a biometric device, which is like fingerprint, and they also have the ability to use a PC. So there's multiple ways that somebody can.
Okay. You don't have a problem with that?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be, from the time we call somebody in, their time starts right there.
Right.
So they would have to have some way to log in. There's also, there's a lot of times officers hang over a little bit. So are we going to say your shift begins at 8 a.m. so you can't clock in any earlier than that? So we save money. But at the end of their shift, if they hang over 5 or 10 minutes and leave that they never claimed, are they going to start getting paid for that 10 or 15 minutes? So that's just a question I have. It's neither good or bad or anything. It's just a question.
Oh yeah, I know. That's a valid question. What do you guys think about that?
Well, that crossed my mind too, because we do have people who show 5, 10 minutes early, 15 minutes early, and maybe 5 or 10 minutes later than normal. No, I mean, they would get paid for it, because they're gonna get paid from the time they clock in to the time they clock out. But then you have some employees that come in 10, 15 minutes late. In the morning, 10, 15 minutes late for lunch, maybe 15 minutes late or leave early. So, I don't know if the answer to that would be, I mean, you want to pay them. I've been told you want to pay them for the time they're working. You don't want to punish them for coming in early. But they would get paid for that time. I mean, they're not going to get the job.
Well, I mean, let me ask Mr. Kelly about that. I mean, in my days in the other business, of not being in government, we had time clocks that hourly employees clock in. But if they clocked in 10 or 15 minutes early, they didn't get paid 10 or 15 minutes. They got paid from their schedule for their scheduled time. Now, and they clock out late because they sit there and they talk to somebody and they're just goofing off, and then they clock out when they leave the plant. I mean, we're looking at that too. I mean, obviously if they're working and they're doing something, they need to be paid for that. But if they just come in early, clock in, have a cup of coffee, have a donut, because you know, all the police officers like donuts.
Well, and that might be an education thing
Well, yeah, I mean,
Just drink a cup of coffee and kind of get, there. You don't want them clocking in until they actually start.
well, no, I mean, these people, well, it depends on,
I mean, you don't want them sitting around clocking in and drinking a cup of coffee and talking to each other and getting paid for that.
well, yeah, but there should be a way that they don't get paid for clocking in early or clocking out late unless it's authorized overtime. And that's all I'm saying.
Yes, every one of these systems have a supervisor has to approve it before it gets sent to the next stage of being sent into the office.
So then that's not really a problem.
That's not a problem.
Mark,
Most time systems that I've been used to or been involved with have a time in there from 20 till, if your shift starts at 8, from 7:20, from 7:40 to 8 o'clock, you can clock in, but you're not going to get paid. You're just clocked in. Your shift's not going to start until 8 o'clock. Or if you have a crossover where I'm talking with Mr. Burns over something that's going on, and I'm required to come in 10 minutes early to discuss whatever's happened, in the community on our common route, and I'm required to do that. I can clock in from maybe 7:30 to 10 till, but I'm not going to get paid until 10 till to 8 o'clock. And the same applies for clocking out. If I linger around, you can have a grace period of 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Anything past that has to be approved, get signed off on by somebody. If it's, you have to come in at 7:30 to do some sort of paperwork, that has to be approved. Otherwise you're not going to get paid for it.
Right, and they had, a lot of these had where you had them scheduled and they got paid for what they scheduled unless a supervisor manager approves something different. If they would be paid from 7:30 to 4, whatever, unless the supervisor manager said no, that they left later or they came in early. I mean, they did have that option too. We didn't know if we wanted to use that, but it wasn't an option. They should have. I mean, I agree. When people get there 10 minutes early, they don't normally start right away. They normally are catching up and whatever. And so.
but that's all. I just want to make sure that we do have that system so that
And we'll look.
if the supervisor has to prove it and it's going on that way, then that's fine.
Yeah.
That's not a problem as far as I'm concerned.
The main thing why I wanted to look into this was to see if it's even feasible to pursue it, to see what the costs were. I wanted to see what we were looking at, if it's something that we want to continue to dig into. These are the costs that we're looking at, and the ongoing costs on some of these annually were $3,000 plus, and some of them were not so expensive. But then some of them, the implementation was higher cost than the other one. So I wanted you to have an idea of what we were looking at, what the ongoing cost would be, and see if it's something that we're interested in pursuing. I know some of the departments have expressed an interest in time clocks, and worst case scenario, we'll just get a manual time clock and they just punch it out. What we've looked at here are stuff that will actually import into our accounting system automatically. So, but I just wanted to see where you guys were at, to see what you thought the direction we should take.
Couple quick questions. First of all, are we paying people on the quarter hour or 10th hour? Like, how are we paying people? Is it, I know back old school, like I said, if it was over 8 minutes, you got paid 15 or you got docked 15.
That's currently what we do now. It's
Okay.
around to the
I was gonna say, because I know a lot of companies now pay 10th hours, like 6 minutes or more is a tenth, and then you go up. But also, right now, do supervisors review time logs? Do they, so they have to approve right now?
They review all the timesheets. Our timesheets currently go in are manual timesheets. They write in when they leave, come in, they write in their lunch hours, they write in when they leave. And then, every 2 weeks, before they turn in to us, the supervisor reviews them and makes, to the best of their knowledge, and then they turn them to us. And we calculate them to make sure all the calculations were correct and the hours out right.
Mayor,
Yes.
actually, for Mary Beth, I don't know if this is a good question, a fair question, but it's just a question. Have you ever thought about or surmised collectively what we might be losing annually? Would it be more or less than $3,000?
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
Are we losing in mind more or less than $3,000 right now on clock ins and clock outs that would justify the purchase of the system at this
Well,
point?
I talked to these companies. It costs you time. You're gonna say
Well,
I don't know if it's a good question.
I will,
I'm just gonna say,
Can you lay it out?
Yeah.
That's a-
yeah.
but to Mark's point, if they are required to be there, then absolutely sign off. If you're getting there 10 minutes early, but the doors don't open for 10 minutes, well, that's not a fair figure.
I think their part of their equation is, you know, people might write down one thing and what they do is next. They write down 8 o'clock and they come in 8:15, you know. So they're saying you're losing time, working time. We're not down here, we don't know. You know, so we take what's on the timesheet and it's possible, because I have nothing to dispute it with.
Okay, so how long does it take you to calculate this timesheet?
For all departments, if it's not a holiday, about half a day. I spent the whole morning working on my sheets today.
I feel like
And you do that once a week?
Per pay period?
Yes.
Every
Per
other
pay
week?
period, yeah.
For 2 weeks. So
That
you're
is if there's
spending,
not a holiday.
you're spending 4 to 6 hours every 2 weeks calculating. And if you went to an electronic system, you're basically going to download this that's already been reviewed by a supervisor. And you're going to download this and it's going to be automatic. You're not going to have to do anything. It's just going to plug and play basically.
To Mark's point on this, it doesn't save you any money. It makes you more efficient.
Correct. But it does save money in the fact that she no longer is spending 4 hours every 2 weeks at.
So
She's
we're gonna
gonna
lay
get
her
paid.
off every 2 weeks for 4 hours?
Correct, but she can be doing something else.
That's the more efficient.
That's the more efficient.
I understand.
Not
I understand.
We gotta pay her overtime?
Now, you actually may end up paying overtime for some employees, though, if they're gouging 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there and 15 minutes there. I mean, that is the actual cost savings we may have, because we may be paying people.
That's the only way to save costs. I mean,
Yeah,
you
we
can't
may-
save costs by being more efficient.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna lay somebody off.
But that doesn't mean we don't want them to be more efficient.
Right, what I'm saying is unless you're paying those people overtime to do those jobs. You have to save $1, you have to quit spending $1 to save $1. I mean, these companies come in, they did it for me when I was working there. Oh man, you get this piece of equipment and these people, instead of spending an hour doing this, are only gonna spend 30 minutes doing this and you're gonna save 30 minutes. So how many people are you gonna lay off then? We're not gonna lay off anybody, they can do something else. Oh,
Now,
on their regular shift, okay, they can go sweep the floor for 30 minutes then. Or maybe, I'm sorry, Elena, you could go have coffee and donuts for 4 hours. Every other week for 4 hours, you know, I mean, we're still gonna pay you to do that, but you're more efficient by doing that. That's my only problem. I've been ripped on this by my supervisors several times, and that's why I have that position, because they're right, Mike.
I was gonna say, so you mentioned the actual cost savings then is the 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. But that savings is coming from your valued employees. It's not, I mean, you're taking the money out of their pocket per se, is how we're getting the savings.
But if they're valued employees, they're not gonna be cheating you on time.
Sure, but I'm not sure that
So I mean, you know,
our employees are gonna be real happy with the idea that their checks are now, an hour less a week than it was before with the new system.
I don't think they're not doing that
They're
now.
not gonna be here 40 hours a week.
yeah, well, that's the thing.
I'm just saying, when we're talking about the savings,
But
my
they're not
point
doing-
is
they're not
that
doing
it's-
that now.
It's coming, it's not magically out of $3,000 just going to Peter. It's going to be out of the pockets of the employees is where the $3,000.
But, yeah, and I understand if they're working 9, 10, 8, however many hours their shift is, 8, 9, 10 hours, we need to pay them for that time. But if they're, like you say, if they're showing up late and they're leaving a few minutes early, and, I mean, once in a blue moon it's okay, but then you get some people that get into the habit of that. And if you're paying them their full shift and they're not working their full shift, then they can't be upset when we start actually paying them for the time they're here. You know, I mean, we're not doing anything bad to anybody by actually paying them while they're at work.
Well, like I say, I mean, if you want to go simplistic, we can start to manual time sheet. I mean, we would still be calculating all the time and putting it in manually, but the ongoing cost and the cost of implementation is very minor compared to what we've looked at. I mean, we could.
I don't have a problem doing it electronically and automatically going into the accounting system. I mean, it's just gonna cost us more money. And I don't have a problem with doing that. I think it's more efficient. But I'm just saying, I don't want somebody trying to sell me that we're saving money, because we're not. But I have no problem doing it.
I was a little surprised at the ongoing cost, because, I was just surprised.
Yeah,
And I
if
will
nothing,
say Tyler Technology, who we have our payroll through, had the highest implementation cost, and when I talked to her about that, she said that was probably the worst case scenario, just depending on the time that it took to put the module together for us to build it into our specifications. So it may not be that high. Their ongoing cost was less than the other ones who were cheaper and getting started, but the ongoing cost was almost twice as much per year. So I honestly don't know what the answer is. It's just something that we were asked to look into and getting time clocks from some of the departments, and so we went out and looked to see what was out there.
I would like to look into, even if you, like, say you have to go old school time clocks, if you had to for a while, and see,
You see,
that would tell you actually too how much of an issue we have.
Yeah, it would tell you if some, if we're actually paying people for hours.
And you can
You
get
mean
those,
the old punch cards?
yeah, as far as, I mean, because you have to be at that time clock.
Or somebody has.
We
to
can
be
probably
at
get some
that
used
time
ones.
to punch your card.
That's
We
the
could
thing.
probably find some used ones, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, but I mean, that would tell you, hey, is there a real issue anyhow?
Yeah, I mean, it would tell.
Because otherwise, we don't have that many employees to invest in a lot of this technology yet. And you may get in there and see,
There are-
and like you say, somebody can get a hold of it, somebody can punch each other in, but unless you do something that they
The
have
only
to
example I have
thumbprint.
about that is Duquesne, who has, besides the police officers, has one full-time employee, 4 officers and a chief, something like that.
Sometimes.
They've got a biometric time clock. Little bitty.
Do we really? Never mind.
It's just an example. So it is. So they are nowadays. They are used more widely from small business all the way up into large manufacturing.
So can we, because I've looked, you can buy a biometric time clock, you can buy one, but I guess my question is, what do you, I mean, is it a time sheet that prints out, is it?
They used one of those programs you checked out.
Yeah, I used one of those programs that has the ongoing cost, but my question is, can we buy a biometric time clock and just use it independently of everything else?
That it wouldn't import right into our system. It wouldn't import into our.
It would not import, but it would be similar to a manual time clock. I don't know.
This may not be a good question either. I'm just curious, the 4 to 6 hours a week that Elena's having to do, is she not able to do something that's in her job description because of those 4 hours, 6 hours a week?
That's part of the job description. It's already part of the job description.
I know you don't like it.
It will make Elena's job easier, where she can spend more time doing other things that are
Drinking
inefficient.
coffee and eating
Drinking
coffee.
But is Elena having to work overtime to complete her job duties?
No.
If she clocks in right.
When there's no.
And here before long, that's not gonna be an issue anyway.
That's
She
true.
won't be on hour then.
And I still have no problem. I still have no problem doing this.
I mean, if
We
it's
wanna
not
spend the money.
something that's probably overtime right now.
But if we want to spend, if we're going to spend the money on it, we need to have the least annual cost. That's what'll go in the future. I mean, yeah, you may have a lot up front, but we decide we have to spend it and do it. I want the least annual cost, because eventually, after a few years, you're going to recover that initial investment.
You can on Amazon, I just punched one up. You can buy a biometric time clock on Amazon for $119.
Mike,
One last thing, then I.
You don't have any idea.
So if some employees or some different departments that came to you suggesting this, then it must be under the assumption that they are losing money on this. They would not come to you and say, I think I'm getting paid too much. I'm getting paid for time I'm not working. So they're under the assumption that they are not getting paid correctly when they are working. So any cost savings, by that logic, should be the opposite. It should be then when we get an actual system to report the time that they're working, we would be paying out more, assuming that's why the employees would want this, right? Not because that they're being paid too much.
There are employees who get frustrated when they see other employees get to work late and claim that they got there on time.
Yeah.
That's a leadership thing with the supervisor and that.
I think so. That's a more discipline issue.
Yeah, that's not but I mean, I'm not that it's right either way, but that's, that's a discipline.
Jay, how do you feel about the thing?
I just wanted a manual time clock. Everybody on it. I didn't know it was gonna go down this road. That way I don't have to disciplinary an employee.
I understand that.
Yeah, I think it would make supervisors' job easier, to certain, but like I said, we can do it manually or we can do it electronically. I have never dealt with the electronic ones. When I worked at the bank, they had a manual one.
Okay.
But that was 30 and a half
Okay,
years.
I want everybody on this, I want you guys to make a presentation to the budget committee. And let the budget committee decide what they want to do. I'm gonna kick the can down the road.
This opened,
Bucket.
we honestly knew nothing about it. When they started this and we started talking to people, we honestly knew nothing
We
about it.
had no.
So this was a rabbit hole deluxe that we went down chasing this thing.
But if we honestly think we can do it, why not do it? If we think we can't do it, then let's don't do it.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it was way more, I wanna say complicated, but it was way more than I ever dreamed. I mean, they just do, I was expecting to, that's all, and when we got into all these presentations and seeing everything that this software does, it was just like, wow. They have fencing, they can only clock in within a certain area, they can only do this, they can only clock in during certain hours, and it's just like, it was amazing what was out there.
I don't know what this costs, but I mean, I have clock in, clock out, just app on my phone. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's one of these, but it works really well.
But
But
the
you
thing
have to
is,
have a
the
proximity.
thing is getting into the accounting system.
Right.
That's where you save the money.
Well, it does. It goes through our HR department.
But
But the
there's-
HR department's looking all that and doing it. I mean, they're talking about they calling it and all of a sudden it's automatically in there and they don't have to do anything about it.
Oh,
It's in there. It's already in the software.
I'll research this a little bit too.
Okay,
Figure it out.
that'd be good. Yes, Jay.
We've had an employee in the past that would be maybe 2-3 times a week, 15, 20 minutes late. All the other employees are sick. it's nothing but a pull down on them.
That is
That's why
true.
He no longer works with us, but that's what it's stemmed from.
Yeah. Well, I hate to say it, but you're gonna have to, if that happens again, you have to jump them. That's your job. That's why you make the big bucks.
Yeah.
And, but
Same with you, Mark.
Let me weigh in.
Yeah.
When we have a problem employee, we call them in and tell them, straighten up, you'll get written up, and it'll progress down the road till you get terminated. I have employees right now that will work under 15 minutes and they don't claim any time. If it's over 20 minutes, they'll go ahead and claim the time. If this goes in, they're gonna be claiming all their time. I have an employee that shows up to school 15 minutes early because he thinks that's his duty, and he doesn't charge any time. We don't grant him the time. That's his own decision. We may adjust his shift. We currently have a program at the police department written by Officer Doug Dickey that calculates all their times. It goes to a supervisor. The supervisor has to approve it. We also have a deal where they have to turn in overtime sheets and give an explanation for any overtime earned before we'll sign off on it. We take care of it ourselves.
Okay.
And if you're gonna do the manual time clocks, get enough for everybody's individual cars in case they get called in and have to clock in.
Exactly. So you all need to get together with budget. And you need to recommend what you guys want to do. I mean, both of you guys too need to do this with these people here. So you all you supervisors need to decide what you want to do. And then get with budget and decide what we want to do and then present it to the council. See if we can afford it, see if we can't afford it, what we want to do. Then present it to us, somebody's gonna give us a presentation on why we need to do it or not do it. All right?
Yes, sir.
Ball's in your court, Donna.
well, when you have all of your presentation ready, you'll let me know. And we will schedule a meeting.
Anything else?
Right back over.
Any other can of worms I need to talk about in the administration report? Very good then. Let's go to the police department report. Department reports. PD. We got a big old list here. Mark sent out. Any comments for the PD? Need to be collecting some money for Shop with the Cop pretty soon, right? Don't see that on there.
Tomorrow noon, are you gonna be available? 11:30?
Nope, because I got the Marma mandatory legal training.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Anything else for the chief? Any comments about his report? What?
It'll be nice since I gave you grief in the last.
You're a good person.
Oh, don't tell her that.
I misspoke. All right, next we'll go to Public Works. I see we have a paving spreadsheet here.
There are a couple of changes that Jay and I made on there. We adjusted the length on the Well Street project. We removed Angel Lee. Yeah, because there's a bunch of traffic on it right now that truck traffic and stuff, so that we'll wait on it. And we added Kelly Lane. And I forget how long it was, but anyway, it's basically the same cost.
We got money to do this?
Yes, sir.
Woo, thank God.
Oh, you got deep pockets.
They're supposed to be in the next couple of weeks, aren't they?
That's good, that's good. Any comment, Jay? You want?
No, they told me they'd be here 2 or 3 weeks, and that was right before the last one. And then Denali came today and took a sludge sample, and he told Audrey that they're gonna be here probably in a week or so.
I do have one.
Yes, LaDonna.
And I won't get it like the last thing. How much has paving cost went up from last year to this year? Do you know? I'm just
6311 this year, and it was 61 and a quarter last year.
I'm surprised it's not more than that.
Very good. Any other thing for the public works? Yes, Mark.
Well, I don't know if this belongs here, or if it belongs to new business or whatever, but I have been approached by a citizen in Ward 1 on Grimes Street that has said that with the detour, we're getting a lot of semi-traffic on Grimes now that hasn't been there before. And they're going down, I guess, to, I don't know, Dollar General is one of the truck lines that he's heard, or that I heard specifically. So I don't know where where this statement belongs. As long as the new business are on this, but you know, I guess he's concerned about, you know, there's a pretty good turn coming on at Grimes from, where's it, Ivy?
Yeah, that was a pretty wide turn. It's
Is it?
here on Pinell and Grimes, it's a lot narrower.
Yeah.
I'll call MoDOT and see if they can put some additional signage up, because that's the MoDOT project.
Okay.
But I will tell you, the road district, the road district that does something about that, because they're getting excess traffic down Paper and Ivy, and it's tearing up those roads terrible. And 290 coming down. And they asked them to put up more signage, and they go, our signage is just perfect.
MoDOT said this.
MoDOT said
Is this all because of that new roundabout that they're?
Yeah, they've got 171 closed right
Yeah.
there at Ivy, so that's
Right.
what's causing it. And
GPS.
and GPS doesn't know it, for one thing. And the other is, you can't fix
Stupid.
the fact that they can't pay attention to the signage that starts all the way at the airport
Right.
and comes all the way around. We can't fix that.
And the truckers that know the back road, because the road district's having the same issue, and they're coming down off of Liveway, down north from me, and then cutting on Ivy, trying to bypass it. And, I mean, those roads are horrible, and the traffic is horrible. I've been on Ivy, on my news when I go out there, and there is so much traffic, and they're big trucks. As a matter of fact, one truck ran off the road, because that corner intersection is so small. It ran off in the ditch and got stuck. And those big
Two
trucks are trying to
right
make
together.
those small intersections, and they're just tearing them up terrible. So, but this is what Jerry said, that when he talked to, the county talked to him about doing different signage, and MoDOT's response was, our signage is perfect. So they plan on doing nothing with their signage. The county, I think, is gonna put 45-mile-an-hour speed limit signs up to slow them down anyway, but it's not going to prohibit them from bypassing.
As long as they put the sheriff out there, then. They don't put a sheriff out there, it won't do any good.
Yeah, really. We could, if we have any, we could put a no truck traffic sign in. You don't have anything to back it up with. It's just a
Right.
sign.
On Grimes, maybe Ivy, Grimes.
Ivy and Grimes, I mean, it's just a sign. Is it gonna do any good? No.
Right.
I'm not that optimistic.
I just don't think they'll do any good like MoDOT for.
You know, I can,
I,
you know what, I'll put in my email is the fact that I know you've already heard from Carl Junction Special Road District. Now you're gonna hear from me. You gotta do something about the signage. Because there is no signage between 171 and YY. There is nothing along in there. So those guys don't have any idea what they're turning into. There's no sign that says detour straight ahead, no trucks, there's nothing.
And this is all really stemming from the new roundabout.
Yep.
What's the projected completion date of the roundabout?
What is it, December?
Last I heard it was December, but that's not happening because they didn't even get to it till 6 months after their projected start date.
Okay. So when would these things take? Because if
They don't have anything to do with it. So
I understand.
that's just availability of the contractor.
we have traffic on Grimes Street and we're proposing cost of paving of $15,692. When would that start? Would that start?
I believe that's
That's
on the south ground.
The south ground,
Oh, okay.
from Pinell south. So you don't have a problem with UPS and trash trucks. Those trash trucks are the problem there.
Yeah, that reminds me. Soccer people, they put the trash cans out by the curb. They put it in the parking lot and tearing up a parking lot with the trash trucks.
I'll put them in the back of my truck and haul them to the dumpster.
Two hours, I saw there were 4 of them out there the other day. Good. I appreciate that.
Which I'll bring that in old business.
Okay. So, anything else for Public Works? God, it's a long meeting.
And there wasn't much on there.
Well, I don't think we have a building inspector's report, so we can skip on that, right? Well, let's go to committee reports. Oh, where's all my stuff here? How about budget and finance?
Well, at this point, we just discussed some issues earlier on the radios. I'm waiting for some information on that and waiting for a date that we will meet with the department heads on the time clocks. And other than that, we have nothing to do tonight.
Somebody stole all my committee stuff.
I did.
Thank you, Roger. Code and nuisance, Rick.
No, sir.
Human resources, Roger.
Nothing.
Public facilities and planning, Bob.
Nothing at this time.
Senior citizens, Richard. Oh, Gary.
Richard conveys that they've never felt older than they are today. And I'm supposed to say thank you to our city administrator who's been kind of working with them on the Sunday house.
Very good.
That's what we're supposed to say. Yeah.
Anybody have any comments or anybody that is called off on committees? All right. Unfinished business. Mr. Goes,
No, sir.
Mr. Satterley,
No, sir.
Mr. Burns.
Yes, sir. Last month, I asked if we could find a way to get a dumpster out there at Lakeside Park. We need to do something. I know it's unsightly to have a dumpster, but we have it at all our other parks. And that is our most visited park for sure during soccer season. This soccer season's over in 1 more week, so nothing's needed at this point. But assuming we'll be back out there in the spring, we've got to find a way to get a dumpster somewhere out there. Because as it is, I'm loading trash containers in the back of my truck and hauling them to a different park and dumping them. Just assume there was an easier way.
Steve, did you call? I thought you were going to talk to.
So you're saying there's no trash because I talked to Jennifer and she said they were delivering one.
We have, Republic brought us some of the residential trash containers. And that's rather than using, there's 6 of them actually.
6 of them.
Rather than using the 55-gallon barrels, we have now blue trash containers. But we have nowhere to go with the trash once they are full.
I would think that you could take them to the curb on the grassy part there on Tuesday and let them dump them there. They should be able to do that.
Steve, you mentioned that the question was who's going to pay for that? If the CJFC is responsible for the curbside pickup would be like normal residential billing. And so does the CJFC pay for that or does the city pay for that?
I believe it's part of our contract that they're supposed to provide trash service to all of our parks.
Yes.
And that's what I hoped. Steve mentioned that somebody would have to pay for it. I don't know.
Well, I think that's part of our contract.
I think because of what I was thinking was that we didn't order those polycards. You guys ordered those polycards, not us. So I would hope that you aren't getting billed for it.
Why don't you call Jennifer and ask her?
Would have to find out from them whether they've done the trash.
Okay, that's fine.
The answer would be no. I think Republic just
Drop them off.
dropped them off as a more of a donation kind of thing rather than using bins. Provided us with some containers. I'd have to double check on that, but I know that we're not getting billed for it, or else I would have just hauled them up to the curb.
Is there not a place for a big trash can like we got at the pool and stuff?
Not really.
Nothing that's gonna be,
Accessible.
It's unsightly. All the other parks have a big ugly trash can on them. It's just something that you have to deal with, unfortunately.
We built a fence around ours, of course, that's.
trying to think of more, unsightly we can't get past, I don't think, but, that just the operation of it, getting the trash trucks in there.
If we can hold them to the curb, and if the Republic will pick those up as part of our
Yeah,
blanket
that's
plan,
the ideal
that'd be easy.
solution.
There's people practicing Monday nights out there. When the last one leaves, we'll haul the trash to the curb, and it'd be easy.
Then Tuesday night, they can take it back.
Exactly.
Tuesday when they start practice.
Exactly.
Tuesday night. Ain't good.
Somebody will take care of the
Yeah,
trash.
yeah.
Somebody will do that. Me probably.
We can talk to Jerry. I think they would pick it up with no problem. But I can talk to Jerry just to make sure.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Yeah, as long as they're out of the curb, I think they pick up anything that's out of the
Yeah,
curb.
I think it'll be fine.
But we can talk to Jerry.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The garbologist.
I have no other new business or old business. Excuse me.
Unfinished business.
I have no other unfinished business.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, I'll use the first name. Ladonna. I have nothing. Roger.
Nothing.
Rick.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Gary. That's your name.
Yeah.
Gary. Bob. Mr. Talley. Lena.
No, sir.
Mary Beth. Crystal.
Sir.
Steve.
No, sir.
Mark.
Nope.
Jay.
The lady down at the bottom just was complaining about the roads. We're gonna concrete one of them tomorrow. I got the other one dug out, so I'll be a couple of weeks for concrete it. We had to dig the first one out and let it set.
Are we talking the bad spot on Remington or Hodge? Which
The one that we're gonna concrete tomorrow is Hodge, and the one that we'll do in probably 2-3 weeks will be the one in Riverton.
and like she mentioned, and we mentioned, that spot has been dug out and replaced multiple times. I don't know if there's a way
We
to.
went to 2.5 foot deep and took all the gumbo out of it this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yep.
New business. Bob.
No, sir.
Gary.
No, sir.
Rick.
No, sir.
Roger. I have nothing.
I have nothing, sir.
I have nothing, sir.
No.
Mr. Talley. Alina. Mary Beth. Crystal. Steve.
One item, and it's actually unfinished business. I don't have any new, but I
We
have one
already
unfinished.
skipped over that.
For Gary, is that the process has started on that mess there at the car wash, and it's under work. They've made some improvements. They've cleaned up some
They
stuff.
have.
One of the vehicles is gone now, and they've been David's been working hard to get that cleaned up. He was issued a couple of tickets.
Well, I know that's something we both shared in code reasons. But
Yeah.
thank you very much.
That's it?
That's it.
Mark? Jay?
Done.
Is there any other business before the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Mark Sadler, that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. In the affirmative, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for attending tonight. We appreciate you being here.
Including all the visitors.
That's better than that.